Hi everyone. Before the video starts, I just wanted to add this extra little thing to the video. Brandon came through in an awesome way and he gave me an avatar of water. He said in the interview, I think that, hey, I got this extra one. Do you want it? And so he did give it to me and it was awesome that he did. He also, in the interview that you're about to watch, really likes flanking maneuvers, so I got him to sign three flanking maneuvers, and I will have to find a deck that they go into because currently I don't play with flanking maneuver in any of my decks. But if I do, these might be the ones that get in there. So thank you again, Brandon, and enjoy the interview. Hi, everyone. We're back here with another interview with Brandon, and he won the overall tournament for the Midland Mayhem. That means that you had to get a top place, the highest place in the constructed, and then you had to get the highest place in the sealed tournament, right? You had to basically be the best out of both
It,
to
it
get
was,
to win the whole tournament.
yeah, it was basically whoever had the most consistent ranking. So they took your placement in the constructed event and your placement in the sealed event, and they slapped them together. I was, I think, fifth in constructed and then second in sealed. So that brought my total to seven.
Gotcha.
And then it's just whoever had the lowest score at that point in time. And I think Wyatt, Wyatt Reed, was one of Pete's family members, like one of his nephews,
Mm-hmm.
was at eight. So just right behind me. So I really skirked in there.
There you go. And what did you win for the for getting the overall prize?
The overall was 13 alpha packs, so the same as both constructed and sealed's champion prize
Gotcha.
pool. And then there were some promos in there as well, like some stamped elites. Like I think there was like I don't know which ones were for participation or which ones weren't, but there was like a Rihanna's Titan stamped with the Midland Mayhem stamp, which is pretty cool. And
Cool.
then I think a Crater Eyes, Bone Rabble, and a Rebel as well. So a
Very
bunch of
cool.
cool little prizes. Yeah,
Nice. Let's jump over to your Pathfinder deck real quick.
right on.
I haven't seen a. I don't. I'm a sorcerer guy, so it's not necessarily my forte, but I haven't really seen a Pathfinder deck that's air fire. I feel like it's more that earth, fire, earth, air, something
Definitely.
like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so what was the thought process behind going with that with air fire?
So I started playing Pathfinder competitively in West Virginia for that Courtesan Cup qualifier, and I actually piloted Drew's Warpath deck, and I liked the way that it behaved. It had that sort of Earth Fire aggro package that everybody seems to enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
but it ran into issues with mobility. I think, which I think is something that Pathfinder, if you really lock in, makes it extremely powerful. Not being able to the typical route of play up one and then pick a side and then wrap back around for a total of six sites seems to be the common path, no pun intended. But I wasn't too fond of like the restriction of that. More
Gotcha.
so when the first round of top eight, I got locked into four sites for the entire
Okay.
game, and that just felt so bad. Of course, it was who the heck was it? It was the person who won the event for that West Virginia qualifier. I think it was Noah
Yep.
was
No,
his
I won it.
name. Yeah, that was a brutal deck he played, and then the Cloud City just was the nail in the coffin, locking me in. I couldn't get any more mana on the board, so that
Gotcha.
was a bit of a bummer. So I decided to completely remove Earth and go Air for the mobility and the card draw. I definitely struggle now with the heavier minions like Pudge Butchers, Phalanxes, Warriors, pretty much the big beefy 5/4 ups kind of
Mm-hmm.
situation. But with the Chaos Twisters, I feel like I usually manage, and of course, Poison Omen and Disintegrates are like kind of my go-tos for those. But I don't have like
Right.
stereotypical berries and stuff like that. So
Gotcha. Yeah. So with Pathfinder, you don't draw sights at the beginning,
mhm.
and you tap to basically move to your next site, kind of like
Yep,
Frontier Settlers, right? It's the same mechanic.
yep,
Has and it also has like the caveat, which is I found really interesting that you only can have one of each site. That's why your site site list is so long on this on
yeah.
Curiosa. Is it's one of each. Is there I kind of usually talk about the sights, but it's just like what it looks like from here is that you just threw in everything that has a fire symbol and an air symbol attached to it
You
to
got it.
get to that.
Yep, just meet whatever you can for threshold wise, and yeah, I found that two is the place to be for this as far as like elements to run. Like running three in Pathfinder is extremely dangerous. I think I just wouldn't do it, especially in a competitive environment. You're already relying on an avatar that, it's a flip of the coin what you pull off, for
Right.
threshold wise. So, but I think it consistently places sites enough to usually get around the potential threshold issues. So yeah,
Gotcha.
just even like I think I'm still playing Mirage in this list right here, which is like characteristically not a great site for Pathfinder, but we need that fire so bad. It's like kind
Right.
of have to. Yeah.
So, kind of jumping forward, I usually ask about this kind of stuff at the end, but with Arthurian Legends coming out,
Yes.
I'm assuming Pathfinder players are very excited for the ability to kind of mitigate these sites that they kind of just have to have right now,
Yeah.
and kind of the ability to maybe tweak or be able to actually choose sites. Because again, if you're trying to go to, I don't think you can go one element, can you? Without just
Not.
doing a bunch of non threshold sites, right?
Yeah. You could run a bunch of utility stuffs and pack it full of whatever you can, but it gets real risky at that point in time, especially if
Yeah.
you go one element. Like you want
Mm-hmm.
to pull things. Like hypothetically, if I were to run air only, if I were to run a browse, like getting three seems pretty sketchy when 50% of your sites don't produce any thresholds.
Yeah.
Feels kind of bad.
Yeah. Dang. Um, let's move into the deck. So you're playing Pathfinder. You have one aura, so Jihad is the aura of choice. Just
Hmm.
to be able to decide where to start dropping minions if you can get it.
Oh yeah, yeah. This, if you pull this card out in the game, it just does so much work, especially if it
Mm-hmm.
stays on board. If you can bait out early disenchants or something with like maybe a, I mean, I'm not really sure I run anything. I used to run a summoning sphere in here to like bait out an early disenchant or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
but I just found that it was with the numbers that I was running, it just felt unnecessary at this point. If you pull like a turn two jihad, slapping imps and kobolds on their board on their side turn three and on is just so aggressive. I think that's kind of the whole point of my specific build is if I can play aggressive enough and get up in my opponent's face, it kind of it'll throw them. It's kind of like I try to think of it as a bit of a mind game. If I can put pressure
Mm-hmm.
on it, distract them from trying to push aggressively on me, but it really just depends on luck of the draw, like anything.
Right. The artifacts of choice you went with were three Tortimer trinkets. I'm
Yep.
assuming to kind of beef up the Quarrelsome Kobolds, and
It's
obviously other things, but Quarrelsome
yeah,
Kobolds seem to be the go-to for most trinkets.
yeah. It used to be two trinkets and a philosopher's stone, and then of course the princess can tutor all of these things. But I just found like every time I pull stone late game, I'm just like, well, it's fine. And then early game, of course, it does a lot of work. But I feel like every single time I draw a trinket, no matter what, early game, late game, it's always good. I have attacked with my Pathfinder by double trinketing and hitting for three, and it
Mm.
just always yields chip damage on everything it does. And then of course the early game swapping for positive trades, like I mean, my favorite moves are honestly slapping a Clamor of Harpies in the realm of a Jihad and killing something with my Harpies that's now a 4 power, getting rid of those pesky boss controls and other 3 power
Oh
creatures.
yeah, I
But
didn't even think of that.
yeah, it's so good. And then of course bonus value, just swinging
Yeah.
extra damage every turn for any creature you slap down. With all the charge I have in here, it's pretty consistent that you'll see a cavalry or a griffin, or
Mm-hmm.
hippogriffs or something like that come in with a trinket on it and slap in for a decent chunk.
Nice. So, with that being said, you have 21 minions in here and 16 magics. You have one
Mhm.
Highland Princess, four Violent, two Colicky Dragonettes, three Quarrelsome Kobolds, three Clamor of Harpies, three Gyre Hippogriffs, four Patrician Cavalry, and one Hounds of Honduras. Let's see here. You kind of explained the Gyres and the Patricians. The Clamor, that was an interesting idea. I did not think of that because Clamor of Harpies kind of took, like, when I first started the game, I was like, oh, this is really good. Like, you could just get rid of something. And then I realized the game's kind of going in a direction where two for twos are not really what people do. They want to
Yeah.
have that three power at minimum. So it makes it so Clamor of Harpies is really difficult. Yeah, like their Genesis ability doesn't really matter at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think of Jihad as like a way of getting that +1 as it comes out, so then you can
Yeah, it's
do that.
definitely a more niche interaction that I don't see consistently, but it has worked in the past to do a lot of work on the board. But an additional move I like to do with the Clamor of Harpies is I'll often get root spiders with, like, my kobolds would be in enemy territory, and then they'll slap a root spiders under it. But then I'll use Clamor of Harpies to reposition my kobolds and slap back in for another chunk of damage. So repositioning my own minions is also something I do pretty often with the Clamor of Harpies.
Gotcha. Okay. The you're kind of maxed out on everything besides the Hounds of Honduras and Colicky Dragonets.
Mm-hmm.
Why kind of not go to max on either one of those?
I wish I had like a solid and truly tested reasoning for this, but if I'm being totally honest, this deck could use a little bit of tweaking still. I feel like I got pretty fortunate with the way that it placed. I did make a few misplays in the constructed tournament that I feel like it actually could have done better, just stock the way that it is now. But there are definitely some efficiencies I feel like I can tweak in this, but it's just going to require a bunch more repetition with this deck. The Hounds are in there just as, potential turn 5, a huge threat that, someone it's just hard to deal with. Like, a Hounds was played against me when I ran Warpath in that West Virginia qualifier. And I just felt like, on top of being restricted to 4 mana, I couldn't do anything about it. I can't bury it, I can't submerge it, I didn't have any kills. It's so sticky.
Yeah.
So I decided to start running them. Originally, they were, I think, Vril Revenants in this deck, which I think is a little less competitive, but I mean, it's got its niche applications for sure. But yeah, if Hounds weren't such a pain in the butt to get rid of, they probably wouldn't be in here. So
Gotcha.
this is another thing my opponent has to worry about. The Colikies I used to run 3 of, but I think I just I think I just kicked it down because there were a couple early, I think it was early game feel bads where, like, they just didn't do a whole lot. Whereas, like, if I slap down a kobolds instead, I just feel like they do a bit more work. The 1
Gotcha.
damage is nice for the entire length of a game, but they rarely ever stay for more than a couple turns anyway. So with blockers being on the board and only 1 damage at the end of turn, it feels a little bit rough.
Gotcha. So with Pathfinder, going back to that character real quick, the I'm assuming you're just trying to get more sites throughout the game. You're not necessarily like
Yep,
not doing that with it.
constantly. Yeah.
So you I'm just kind of wondering what's the amount you're trying to get to. Is it 6 like most decks, or are you it's like I'm just gonna keep on going until the game's over kind of thing?
That's it right there. Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
I pushed out as many as I can, mainly for the benefit of double spelling late in late games, but it's never like something that I'm actively thinking about. I joke around and say Pathfinder, it lets me turn my brain off a little bit because I don't have to worry about site placement, but at the same time, it you do kind of have to be careful on where you're moving. So if I'm playing pretty aggressive and, like, it's turn 2, I've already moved up, I'll very often, like, blink into my opponent's first site depending on who went first, and then I'll push off to the left or right side and within their territory, which gets, again, a little hairy for them into the whole, like, psyching them out, trying to put pressure early game. But I will also utilize other spells for movement. So I feel like I'm constantly and pretty consistently getting up to 6, 7, 8 mana. Well, 6 minimum, but 7, 8, even sometimes 9 mana every single game. So
Gotcha. Okay. Uh, with your magics, you have 3 blink, 2 disenchant, 2 lightning bolt, 1 disintegrate, 2 flanking maneuver, 1 grapple shot, 2 heat ray, 2 chaos twister, and 1 poison nova.
mhm.
I see a lot of decks going with 2 disintegrate. Why did you opt for 1 instead of 2?
Disintegrate was actually a last minute add.
Okay.
I felt like I could use a little bit more of that big beefy minion removal without the whole berries, drowns, and stuff being unavailable to me in these elements. So I decided to slot that one in, and I'm kind of still on the fence about it, man. every time I pulled Disintegrate in that tournament, I was like, this is just not good right now. Because most with that restriction of nearby,
Mm-hmm.
it hurts. I'm constantly moving, and
Yeah.
most often something's swinging in for 5, and it's like just out of reach. So I think I'm actually going to end up cutting Disintegrate
Okay.
in favor of maybe something like, I mean, even though Poison Nova is still the nearby restrictions, I feel like how many things it hits, I feel like that, or maybe a Cone of Flame or another, or a Flame Wave or something might be better than Disintegrate.
Yeah, I played a game last night and Flame Wave saved my butt.
Oh yeah,
It was really good. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's a
maybe that
game
would
ender
be
for
the
sure.
yeah. Um,
But I also could use more like flanking maneuvers, and I mean, I thought about running 4 of Blinks at one point in time, but I think 3 is the comfortable spot for most of the ordinaries in these builds, with the exception of like your charge minions and your violence and stuff that are just always really great to slap on the board. But flanking maneuver is one of my all-time favorite cards, so I put one of those in there, card draw, reposition a whole board, and uh, Bruce, who won the, or sorry, Golden Eagle, who won the constructed tournament, and then CN Wizard or Chris, who won the sealed
mhm.
tournament. We were kind of brainstorming through all of this and slapping the deck out in front of us, like, okay, how many cards can end a game if you play it? And I
Mhm.
count flanking maneuver as one of these, just because of the reposition. I feel like no one ever really sees coming, and an L-shaped knight move, to reposition a minion or a kobolds or something, for example, and then smack
Mhm.
for 2 to end a game feels like it's pretty high value.
Gotcha. And with the you get the card draw too off of it.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah, I don't run a lot of air in a lot of the decks I play, but I've thought about flanking maneuver a couple of times when I see it. I'm like, that just seems like a fun and
Oh,
like
it's so much fun.
you do get like a good chunk of movement off of it. It's not like you're
Oh yeah.
it's not skipping on movement.
I have moved my Pathfinder with flanking maneuver and smacked an avatar for a game-ending blow, and it's just one of the best feelings.
Nice. The one grapple shot. That seems to be an interesting move. Why not more? Why not none?
Originally, there was, I think, 2 in here. This is kind of dumb, but I also like, this is my foil deck, so like I didn't have a second foil grapple shot at that point in time. But
Gotcha.
um,
Okay.
honestly, the grapple shot's still in there, just as another maneuverability kind of spell. Like I've used grapple shot on my own Pathfinder to position, like if someone tries to lock me in, I'll grapple shot to the edge of their turret. I remember one specific game, there was a Death Speaker on their starter site, and I was up in their
Mm-hmm.
territory because I had to just take care of a threat on the back line. So I was stuck in that corner, and I grapple shot to their Death Speaker, and then played a site right next to their Death Speaker's home site. So it got me kind of back in the game as far as mana generation and site placement.
Okay.
Still, again, another one that I'm sort of on the fence about. I mean, it can get extra value with the charge minions and the trinkets, but it like doesn't draw me cards, and I love card draw. So I don't know. Like I said, this has some tweaking I think I still need to do before the Quarterson Cup comes up, but we'll see how it goes.
Nice. And you are going to it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice. I wish I was, but I can't. But I'll be watching that live stream like a
Heck
hawk.
yeah, yeah.
Let's see here. With Heat Ray, it's a finisher.
Yep, yep.
Gotcha.
Honestly, that's run in 2 of those. That was another kind of late, last minute swap in for. I just didn't have as many finishers as I would have liked. Like I had, I think 3. I don't know. I think I might have been running 3 or 4 lightning bolts, probably 3. But the 50-50 chance at 2 targets on a site, it felt like, okay, why leave this to chance? A heat ray just does it. So
Mm-hmm.
feels better to swap that in.
So, I'm assuming it's because you don't have common sense in here that you moved up to 2 disenchants because you might want to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. There was a point where I questioned running 3 of these, but then I have had games, and unfortunately, it's more than one game in my past where I have like had a disenchant in my hand and then drew another disenchant. I'm like, this sucks. So thank thanks to Golden Eagle for advising me against that running 3, because it definitely was not necessary. But yeah, two for the fact that I don't have the search. Yeah.
Nice. Let's see here. Chaos Twister. I always
Yep.
ask this card when I see it in the deck. Is it because there is no better removal, or
pretty
actually
much.
enjoy the card.
I mean, I love the card as a whole, although it did bite me a little bit in the constructed early games. I actually lost a game because of Chaos Twister. So there was a Jin combo forming on the opposite side of the board with the Death Speaker deck, and I'm like, okay, well, obviously I'm not going to let the Jin survive.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I tried to be nice and not blow directly in my opponent's face. I kind of blew it off to the side, and it actually ended up being just a hair over the edge outside of the realm, and it fizzled, and it
Uh,
sucked. We decided to do a best 2 out of 3 just to out of courtesy, I think. But I'm like, we didn't have time to get the third game. I'm like, dude, you got it, no worries. And I still got top 8, so I'm not mad about it. It was still a
fair
great
enough.
game. Yeah. So this is I definitely see why this is a love hate card for some people. It just the risk of it fizzling is it feels real bad when it
Yeah.
does.
I I think that's one of the reasons like I've never really I've enjoyed the concept of air, but I've never really fallen in love with air because just like Chaos Twister is like the only like big removal card you have. You don't have
Right.
like, there's nothing else to do it, and it kind of sucks, especially
Yeah.
if you want to run mono air.
I 100% feel that pain. Like majority of games, I see something huge hit the board. Like I'll even see a phalanx, and I'm just like, God, how do I get rid of that right now? So I'm like constantly trading in like like a double trinketed cavalry, or most often if the cavalry for a phalanx, which doesn't feel great, but at
Mm-hmm.
least I get my trinkets back and I can pull something else later. But that's also why the trinkets are so heavy in this. Like if I truly need to, I can still get the 1-for-1 and not have it feel like horrible. It's like I'm
Right,
still
you're
getting
not
the
trading
potential
two.
removal. Yeah. I thought about
The
running at one point in time 2 infiltrates in favor
okay.
of like instead of the disintegrate and perhaps the grapple shot or something like that, just as another potential threat. But I think I pulled them out because I was afraid of watchtowers and things like that, just completely negating stealth. But to be honest, I didn't see any of them played.
Yeah.
So I find it crazy how this meta is so rapidly shifting and it just oscillates between so many different,
Right.
potential builds and what people are playing. It keeps it interesting for sure.
Yeah, one thing that I've seen a lot of people do as like a pseudo okay, if they have it in Earth is just to play that the hounds plus the common
Mhm.
sense to go find the one set hounds you have in the
Yep.
deck.
Yeah, this common sense is just so good. The amount of things that you can get in it, it just like I'm like, where's our tutors in like air? Like, where's our tutors in
Uh,
the other elements? We need to get some of that action in here. But it's
yeah,
yeah, being able to tutor and remove stealth is pretty good.
yeah. The Poison Nova, you kind of talked about how you
Mhm.
didn't like that it was nearby, but it could target more things because of it is all nearby, not targeting one thing nearby.
Yeah. So like if I ever get swarmed, this is definitely like an oh crap card to pull out. But I still to this day have not used it even. I can't say I've used it optimally. So it's I don't know. It's so good in so many different environments. It's hard to cut it, and I feel like as soon as I do, I'm gonna get swarmed by an aggressive deck, and then wish I had it. So again,
Gotcha.
I just need to get the reps in and see how well it actually plays, and worst case scenario, I swap back in for infiltrates or something like that.
Gotcha. Have you ever thought about putting in like, and maybe this wouldn't be worth it, but maybe like putting in like salamanders to just get a couple more spellcasters?
I think with my, I mean, I think my minion density is a little bit low, so I could definitely see that. Yeah, having another fire spellcaster nearby would be pretty decent, but then it also might let me keep disintegrate in. So I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
salamander. Are they 3 mana or 2?
Let me look it
Can't
up real
remember off the
quick.
top of my head.
I think it's two, but I'm not. I think it's two with one or one fire. But let's see here. Salamanders, come on. Jeez, where the heck are they? I think it blew past them.
2 mana, 2 threshold, 1 power,
There we
a
go.
fire spellcaster.
Nice.
I could see this being like, yeah, this could be like an oh crap moment if I had like it might lead me to keep disintegrate in here. So if there's like a big beefy creature, it's 5 mana though. So two for the salamander to place it, and then for the disintegrate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I'm running quite enough fire spells damage-wise to really make it worth it, but it's an
Right.
interesting thought. Yeah, I
Yeah, and
can.
I.
A heat ray would also be nice with a well-placed salamander, so that's
Mm-hmm.
something else. That's only 4 mana, so there might be something there.
Yeah, I know that that Earth Fire, uh, Pathfinder with
Hmm.
I think it runs a Panorama Manticore.
I think usually, yeah.
Yeah, is
I
that
think
a
I still
card
have
you've
that.
also thought?
I think the Manticore, I ended up opting out of it, likely because it gets answered so quickly. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
is bait for a removal spell, which I can see it being good for that, but it kind of feels bad to pop something so heavy onto the board and then have it immediately removed from with like what a berry or like another 3 mana spell. So like, yeah, the trade wouldn't feel super great, but
Mm-hmm.
I still actually pulled up my other list right here.
Yeah,
Bounce
it probably would just kind of die to a
I was
barrier submerge.
I was not running Manticore in that list. Interesting. I wonder what I swapped. Maybe I swapped out the Manticore for the additional Flame Wave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I think with how many minions I have in, or how many lower costed minions I have in the air fire or the air fire build, I'm most often slapping two things on the board. And with the card draw that I have, I think I rarely have issues with cards in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So
One more thing that I was thinking about was Hill of Basilisk, since you're not
yeah,
running Earth, being able to use it as a pseudo root spider.
yeah, this one I actually had considered at one point in time just because, disabling stuff is so powerful in this game. This would be like a pseudo removal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 4, right? To
Yeah,
run the
it's four.
basilisk.
Yeah, four, one fire threshold, three attack.
I think that might have been the kicker for me. If
Getcha.
it was 3, I'd probably auto include it in here, but
Yeah.
I might experiment with it with this one because with the lack of removal that I have right now, I
Mm-hmm.
think it'd be nice to at least have another body on board that can move and be pseudo removal ish. So yeah, that
I do
I think
like that
that's a
it's
pretty decent
one in
idea.
front as well. That
Yeah,
it's the site it's on and one in front of it
yeah,
is really good. Where like root spider, it's like you burrow it to
hmm,
start, so it's like okay now you can't attack this site,
yeah.
and then you
That
move it
was
forward to then like disable whatever in front of it.
root spiders are actually another reason I run the hounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like,
Yeah.
all right, if I can threaten some removal for that root spider, maybe I can get it out of the way, or at least reposition it.
One thing I don't know why more people haven't been potentially adding this to the deck, to like just anything that runs fire is like pit vipers. It has the
Yeah,
burrowing, so then you can kind of like, with water not being super prevalent in the meta, it just seems like pit vipers could just kind of be like a trap card where it's like I'm gonna put this burrowed underneath, and if you come over here, I'm gonna jump
for
up and
sure.
attack you, and
Yeah,
it's one, so it doesn't matter to me.
having some of these in the deck would definitely be, I think, um, most likely better. But like I am horrible at cuts. Like I don't ever want to cut
Gotcha.
anything in my deck. So it's like it's always this horror. I think most of us struggle with cuts actually, but I think what I wanted to do with this specific build is I wanted all of my minions, or the vast majority of my minions, to do something as soon as they came out. So the turn that they enter, either deal damage of some sort or interact with something that can also yield in some damage. So like Claimer of Harpies being the niche exception of this, at least it can reposition something, but it can still prove, or it can result in damage dealt that turn with a proper repositioning, like a Kobolds or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So everything except with the exception of the Highland Princess and the Hounds of Ondaris is like, okay, charge, or like enter, end of turn strike, end of turn shoot something, that kind of situation.
Right.
So I think the aggression is such a priority with this specific build. Like, I think I just completely disregarded all other minions when I built it. So.
I kind of with that in mind, with Pathfinder moving around, did you ever think about doing minor explosion, where it does 3 damage to everything on that site?
Yeah, I did. I questioned just honestly minor and major were on the maybe board at one point in time for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Major being most often far too expensive to really pull off. It is really nice when you do, and I can consistently get to 7, but I think I try to end games before that kind of mana is really readily
Right.
used. The miners, it only ever feels super great when you can get like a 2-for-1, and I
Yeah.
feel like most of the people that are playing in the competitive scene know to play around that.
Right.
So if you're double, I mean, I honestly, I feel like I did some pretty poor positioning in some of my recorded matches where I'm like, I got, even though there were just like foot soldiers and other 1 power
Mm-hmm.
minions, I get 2-for-1 pretty regularly, even by deserts and stuff. So with the prevalence of fire and the threat of dealing damage to everything on a site,
Mm-hmm.
um, I kind of nixed it. But and again, the restriction of 2 sites away or 2 steps away
Mm-hmm.
is pretty restrictive for. Even though I am moving around a lot, it can be an inhibiting factor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't know if we really need to talk about the sites because again, it's kind of
Yeah,
like
it's
I
all of
just
them.
it is what I can play.
Yeah,
So
yeah. With the exception of Mirror Realm, I think it's just everything that I can throw in there. And the
right.
deck name like 2141, like it used to be called the Fading Path, and I ran fades. I just love the concept of fade, swing in with like a cavalry or a griffin or a hippogriffs or something, and then fade it so it can't be like targeted.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice until your opponent poison novas or minor explosions or does something that just hits everything there anyway, and it's like, all right, well that was at least I got the card draw, but it's like it still
Mm-hmm.
sucks. So
Yeah.
with fade being so easily countered, I'm like, all right, I got to take fade out, and I got to come up with a new name for this deck. And with 21 sites and 41
41
spell book,
spells.
might as well
There you
just
go.
call it. Sounds like
Nice.
something like it's futuristic.
There you go. So this was your constructed deck for the tournament, but you had to do a sealed and then a draft for the top 8, right?
Yeah. Day 2 was the sealed. We got our 6 packs. I built, I think it was, Midland Mayhem 2024 sealed event was the next
Mm-hmm.
deck that I built. I think I got really lucky with this one. I again went with the air fire. It's what I'm comfortable with, and I feel like it has the most potential.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also splashed Earth because of the Amazon Warriors Berry and Common Sense, and that's the only reason I did, because Common Sense gets both of those things, and both of those things are very good, especially
Right.
in a limited environment.
Yeah, so I'm looking through this. You got 1 Pit Viper, 2 Raw Domitrid, 1 Snow Leopard, 1 Highland Falconer, 3 Palbury Bats, 1 Spectral Stalker, 2 Violent, 1 Kite Archer, 1 Midnight Rogue, 2 Ogre Goons, 1 Amazon Warriors, 2 Roaming Monsters, 1 Sky Baron, and 2 Highland Clansmen. So, you got a spread here for sure. You got everything from 1 to 7.
Yeah, it's it was this one felt a little janky, and
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I don't really pride myself in my ability to draft or do sealed events. I don't think I'm that great at it, but actually, ironically, I was opening my alpha packs on camera for Dave's his Archives of the Realm channel,
Yeah.
and I was talking about how like all the kids, the Hanson kids that we were playing against, taught me so much about limited drafting and sealed. I'm like, oh my, I'm doing this all wrong. So like, I was like, what did they kill me with? Okay, this card. I'm gonna pull that one because I died to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I just pulled everything that I saw on the opposite side of the table, and slapped it all together.
Nice. Yeah, so you got 1 Summoning Sphere and 1 Rolling Boulder as well.
Mm,
And you ran the Sorcerer, which I have no
yeah,
qualms with Sorcerer. I love Sorcerer,
yeah,
so.
classic. Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like in a limited environment, source is just it's
it's
it's so
it's
good.
really good. Yeah. Let's see here. So you pulled. What were kind of the the MVPs minion wise that you were like, man, this did a lot more than I thought it would.
That one Falconer with 3 bats was pretty nice. It came up, I think, in 2 of my games, and just all the low to the ground, like cost wise minions were so pivotal in these early games. I
Mm-hmm.
think I ended up going 3-1 with this specific deck,
Gotcha.
and the only reason I think I lost the match I did lose was because, again, poor decision stacking 3 minions up on one site. I gambled and I lost. So that game definitely did not end well for me. But roaming monsters on the underside of the board was really nice. Putting backside pressure on the opponent was really good. Sky Baron made an appearance and did a lot of work in a single game. Um, honestly, I probably have to give it to the low cost minions. Getting those like Pit Vipers, Dromedaries, Snow Leopards, all those out super early and putting 2 damage pressure on the board every turn is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that you somehow got a browse too. That seems to
Yeah,
be that was. Did you pull off the browse ever, or was it kind of like, hey, I got it?
I believe I used it once. Don't remember what I got from the browse, but it
Mm-hmm.
was inconsequential. I think at that point in time, the game was kind of over. It's like if you have
Gotcha.
browse, you play browse.
So I'm looking.
Risky given the threshold I'm running, but yeah.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all good. The spin attacks. That was those. Them. I'm assuming they did work, but
Yeah, yeah. Spin attacks are so sweet.
yeah.
I kind of slept on this card for a long time. I need to put it in more of my decks to be honest. But it just the ability to hit everything there for whatever power creature you target with it is it's just a
Mm-hmm.
good card. And happen to get 2 of them. They did show up pretty often, and I think in one of my recorded matches, because spoiler alert, I pulled spin attacks in my draft as well, and they also did some serious work. I think they
Nice.
probably credited with winning me the first round of top 8.
Nice. Yeah, Pit Vipers with spin attack must be a wicked combo.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was a spectral stalker. Like it
Spectral
was just
Stalker.
a 2 mana creature. Like if you can swipe everything there, happen to kill
Yeah.
something and hit an avatar, it just 4 damage in one turn from one thing, and then crack in for an extra 2 for 6 total is great.
Nice. Yeah, and the mortality seems to be a card that I see a lot
Yeah,
of people picking up because there are so many common and exceptional mortals that it's just kind of, oh, okay, yeah, you have like 2 or 3 plus a foot soldier. Cool, I'll kill this.
definitely. Yeah, it was I think with my one berry, I saw that I had the mortality. I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Oh my god, clansmen, Amazon warriors, like all of these things that hit me for a butt ton of damage. These are
Mm-hmm.
mortals.
Yeah.
I need these removal spells. So
Yeah.
they very closely were not included, and I'm glad I made the decision to include them because they got rid of quite a few threats in the games that I played, and they're just another kind of unsung, slept on card, I think.
Yeah. I see the Rain of Arrows show up in a lot of draft decks too, just to
Hmm.
get rid of all those foot soldiers.
Yeah, I almost drafted 3 of those in the top 8 because I was like, there's so many little foot soldiers and stuff, and I popped 2 of these in one turn. It does a lot of damage, gets rid of a lot of threats. But even just clearing the board, I think there was a draft that we played as like a side event. It wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
recorded or anything, but there was 3 border militias played against me. I'm like, dude, where did you get these? I'm like, I should have pulled the freaking Rain of Arrows when I saw it.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating getting smashed for probably a total of 13 to 15 damage from just 1/1s in that game. It was stupid.
Yeah. And then Recall, I saw that one.
Hmm.
Did this ever come up and do something significant?
Um, I think that's actually the card that lost me the game that I did lose because and don't get me wrong, I love this card. I feel like I just played it wrong. Usually I think when you recall, you want to recall and then crack in for a ton of like undefendable damage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I tried to play safe when I saw an opponent's threat pop up that I couldn't deal with immediately, and my minions were within range. So I tried to save them, and it ended up, I think I get minor explosioned, and they all died anyway. So
Oh,
it happens. I still think this card is another sneaky, really good card that, I mean, I thought about running it in my Pathfinder, like a recall and swinging in for a bunch of damage just feels like it would be really good in a mobile based build.
and what did you think of Waypoint Portal?
It 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 did work. It only showed up I think once, but it got in for I think what hit for that one. It might have just been a bats or something.
Okay.
But it people usually just they don't see a waypoint portal coming out, and it just happens, and they're like, all right, well, I guess I'm taking this damage. There's not really much you can do about it.
Right. Yeah, there's a guy I play with, and it's really funny because I don't I know some of the games he's played in his past, but it's really interesting when like I attack, he'll like pick up his cards and look. It's like, dude, there's nothing that you could do. Like there's, like it's an undefended attack.
Yeah.
There's no like
You can't even
counters in
dodge
this
roll now
game.
right now. Like
Yeah, I was like, you're not playing water, so I'm pretty sure you don't have anything. But he always does. He like picks it up. He's like, and maybe he's deciding like, okay, do I block here? Is there something in
right.
my hand? But it just seems interesting that he does it every time. I'm like, what are you looking for?
Is he a magic player? Is that an old magic habit?
I think it might be an old magic habit or
Yeah. Do
something.
you
But
have any responses?
yeah,
Not here, buddy.
no. And going to the sites real quick. So you're going two gothic, two dark, one lone tower, two red desert, two remote desert, and three simple villages. I'm
Mhm.
assuming it's just
Yeah, this
one.
was
Are you trying to find that one Earth to get everything online for Earth, and then everything else is. I think yeah, obviously you're trying to get more air because you did get that browse.
yeah. I think with this,
You
I
do
think
have.
this deck is 65% cost and air threshold. So like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I still want to draw the other side. So a 5-4-3 ratio kind of seemed like the way to go. And then aggressive mulligan on the first turn to really go for. If you don't see an earth site, you like pitch it all to get
Mm-hmm.
an earth site. And it worked in the top 8 draft for me. It's a pretty similar site placement for that one as well. And I got lucky enough in the first 2 rounds of that top 8 to like get the perfect opener with sites, but not so much in the finals match. But yeah,
Gotcha.
always aggressive mulligan for your splash color.
Gotcha. And then let's go over to your top 8 here. So again, playing sorcerer, you found a torchworm trinket this time and a wings of invention.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went 23 minions and 10 magic. So you're
Yeah,
going kind of. You're almost going to a full constructed deck here.
yeah. This I feel like worked out very well in my favor as far as what I pulled. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I'm glad he won it. If I'm going to lose anyone, I'm glad I lost to my buddy Chris. But
Yeah.
his deck was just so good, and I'm excited to watch the interview that you had with him because I want to see him break that down and his thoughts while drafting it. But I thought I had a cracked deck, and then I played against him. I'm like, oh dear God, what am I doing? But
Yeah,
it,
he was pretty proud of it.
I would be too, pulling a Rhianna's Titan and putting was a
So
tree sight crossbow on it at one point in time. It's like,
yeah,
that's a problem.
he said that I think he said that for the top was it I think it was the top 8. He said that there was one guy that went water,
Yeah,
and
yeah, the match.
he said that I think he said that he sat right next to that guy. So I think he was just getting everything that wasn't water from this one guy.
Ooh, that's really good. Yeah, I think that was the semifinal match. Actually, it was his second to last. Yeah, faced that
Yeah,
dude with water, and it was a pretty long game. There was a point where I think Chris was just digging for the answer because he had him kind of up against the wall for a second there. I don't
right.
know how many turns it was specifically, but yeah, I was surprised to see water go that far. He must have piloted it really well. I think it was
Yeah.
Memphis was the one who was piloting that. And
Okay.
all those, honestly, all the kids, the Reeds and the Hansons at that event, they're all so skilled at this. It's really impressive when you show up to an event, you get your butt handed to you by, I'm not sure how old she is, but Lucy was one of the Hanson kids, and she just wiped the floor with me in multiple draft events. It's pretty
Jeez.
humbling.
So you somehow were able to get two land surveyor, two
Mhm.
violent, and two quarrelsome kobolds.
Yeah,
That's pretty impressive.
I was very happy with with those doubles. I was like, oh my god, I'm almost building the aggro list here.
Yeah, and then getting the Torchmark trinket just to make sure that those like threes become fours
Hmm.
seems really good. The you got your pet card. You got two flanking maneuvers here
Yep.
too.
Unfortunately,
Nice,
did not get to use any of them, but they
really
were in there. Yeah, I was happy to pull them still.
nice. Yeah, and you got yeah. This seems to be a very this seems very good. Yeah,
Yeah.
not a you got a lot of minions, which is good. You got a lot of low cost minions. You only have let's see here one, two, three, four high cost minions. Everything else is 3 or lower.
Hmm.
Do you ever pull off the Sipple village to the Moon Clan werewolf?
Nope.
No, just
It
played
was in
it.
there for it and it never showed up.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, when you build these decks, I think Golden Eagle put it in really good terms. Like any average game even for constructed, you're winning with like 12ish cards. So only seeing 12 cards out of these. I mean, even with the smaller pools of like, how many's in here, like 32 or 35, it's not a big chunk. So I feel like I just didn't get
You're at
the
35.
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think isn't it it's 12 and 25 is the minimums, right?
I believe
I think
so.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That seems to be the number. This one I was happy with, like being able to literally, I think I only left out like maybe 2 or 3 spells because like the draft chat that appears at the end of the pack, like I got sent like a, I think one of them was like a wall of ice or something like that, or a wall of,
Gotcha.
yeah, something. And I'm like, okay, I can't use this. It's pitched.
Yeah, speaking of Wall of Ice, the one draft I've been able to do, I I was only given one water card out of the whole thing. So I was like, okay, this is going to the side, and then I'm just gonna basically build my deck off of this whatever's
Yep.
left over here. But
Yeah, the way that I actually built this one, and I'm not sure if it's like strictly appropriate or not,
mm-hmm,
but I was their draft rules are so hit and miss between events that you attend. Like
mm-hmm,
there was a point where it was getting a little restrictive. I'm like, well, I need to keep track of what I'm building here because I was very, very aware of how many minions I was running and how many
mm-hmm.
magic I was running. Like I was counting them as I went. So I had like
Gotcha.
kind of 2 piles, one sitting on top of the other. So I hope that was appropriate for that event. But it was, I think it led to a pretty decent build overall and staying within the elements that I wanted to.
Gotcha. Yeah, the personally, when again, I haven't drafted a ton, but I've always kind of been okay. If this is the minimum, I'm gonna try to shoot for that minimum for building
Yeah.
because it just means that I get to see the things I want more consistently. Especially since I'm playing sorcerer, I'm gonna probably be drawing 2 cards,
Yeah.
so I want to just get more of that good instead of like, huh. Why did I put this in? did you
Exactly. Yeah.
did you ever feel that way going into some of like drawing into some of these cards, being like, okay, I don't
I
know what I was thinking, but I did do this.
I think the only one, like the one that felt the worst, I think, was the Azure Ridge Caravan. I
Gotcha.
think what is that? 5 for 4 power, has all
All
elements and
elements and immune
types.
types. Yep.
Yeah, it just, yeah, it's a body. Also, like Monastery Gargoyle, I didn't see it at all, so it didn't feel bad. Feel. Oh wait, no, I did actually. That one also felt a little bit rough. Like 5 mana for what's essentially a blocker as I'm getting my face smashed in by Chris is not
Yeah.
great. Um,
5 for
so I
3
would.
doesn't feel super good.
Yeah, and it was literally just to stop, I think, some scorpion damage or something when I was getting annihilated there. But yeah, if I wish I would have pulled some more substantial like board wipes, like that
Right.
might have helped a bit.
Yeah.
Just luck of the draw though. So I
Yeah.
think for what I did pull, it performed exceptionally well the first and second round of the top 8.
Mm-hmm.
One nearly being a blowout, and I actually had my first ever concession from an opponent. It was rude what I was doing. Like I had
Yeah.
kobolds on their doorstep, and then I think I killed 2 archers that were immediately placed with the
Mm-hmm.
kobolds and trinkets. It didn't feel
Oof.
great to play those even from my perspective.
Yeah. My the one draft I played, I got 2 Household Bannermen,
Nice.
and I had a archer on a Vantage Hills.
Oh,
So I just played the Household Bannerman to the sides of the archer and just kept on like pinging him for 5.
oh my
It's like,
god.
and I kept on just removing everything else he came out to like block it because I think I
Yeah.
got like 2 or 3 berries, and, he's just like,
Ugh.
he's like I. And the thing that made me feel really bad about it is we played a sealed like a month before, and I the combo I did on him, the same guy, was I blink. So I think it was I played a village turn 1, played a Gothic tower turn 2, played the archer. Then next turn I played another tower, a different one, not Gothic. I think it
Yeah.
was like lone or whatever. Played a blink, drew the card, blinked it forward, so I was in position to hit him, and then drew into an overpower and played the overpower, and then tapped to do the 5,
Oh no.
and he's like, this is turn 3, you're
Relax.
doing
Yeah.
5. I was like, I'm not gonna not do it when it shows up. Come on, this is a once in a lifetime
Yeah.
opportunity here.
Yeah, those ones always make me feel a little bit bad. I've never been like a competitive player for anything, even in
Gotcha.
my Magic, history. I just I've seen what it does. Like I know what it feels like to get completely blown out and have nothing
Hmm.
I can do. It just like there's
Yeah, it
no
does feel
hope, and I'm
bad.
like I don't like doing that to people. But at the same time, like oh, there's alpha packs online here. I see what I'm doing, and I also don't like it. But you're gonna take five.
Yeah,
It's pretty rough.
yeah. I one of my yeah. So I don't. You probably heard of the game. I before I came to this game, I had played Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I was fairly competitive in that game when it came to just my local scene. Like everyone just kind of played competitively. It was like the competitive. It is the competitive game,
Right.
but it's. It was funny. I went from the that because of some local problems. Some guys were being pretty rude to people, and I didn't want to really be in that environment. That kind of made that a thing. That it was just
Yeah.
kind of like, it was talking smack to talk smack, but then it became more than that. It's just like everyone's just kind of shooting at each other and making everyone kind of feel bad. Oh, you made me feel bad, and I'm gonna make you feel bad.
Yeah,
So it was just
perpetuating
kind
the
of,
cycle of violence.
yeah. So it's like I don't really want to be here anymore. And two of the guys I played with, Flesh and Blood, they were kind of on the outs, and they were like, "Hey, there's this sorcery game coming around locally. You should try this out." So I went to it. I played a little bit, and I started playing, and I started. I kind of before Sorcery Con happened, I had been playing a Earthfire sorcerer deck
Hmm.
because I wanted to play Crusade and Jihad. That like I
Yes,
like that was the reason I built the deck. I was like, I have to find a way to play these two cards,
they're so
and
good.
yeah, so I started like playing around with those, and so I was doing pretty well with it. And they were all like, "Freaking Spencer!" It's like he's like, "You can't take the flesh and blood out of this guy." I was like, "I'm sorry. It's just." I was like, "I do the math, and that this is the best math, and this is the best way to move my guys. I'm sorry. Like,
Right.
I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna do unoptimized plays. Basically, like that's
Yeah, especially in a competitive environment. I feel like it's harder to stray away from that in a game where it's
yeah,
inherently 1v1. That's like we
yeah,
have I think our group has a couple multiplayer decks established for
mm-hmm.
and Chris has a multiplayer mat that we play and then you just break out
Gotcha.
whatever the heck you want to play. Like I have a
Yeah,
wolf
we
deck
played
that I
a
plays in multiplayer. It's pretty fun.
nice. Yeah, we played actually last night we played a multiplayer deck game on like this mat that my buddy made, and he did it in like a different way than I've seen a lot, where it's just like it's longer. It's not a square. And
Huh.
so you just sit on the back row like normal, and you have one site to your right, and then you have one site and then you have like one site to your left that probably wouldn't be contested, and then you have the middle site that would be contested with your opponent that's to your left.
I'd be interested to see that mat layout. That sounds fun.
And it does so it's still five, I think. It's five by something. I'll message you and talk to you about it afterwards.
For
But
sure,
yeah,
yeah.
it was interesting, and we did the whole like had like a site in the middle that you had to like grab or keep control of. It
Oh,
was
like a
like
little
King of the
king of the
Hill.
hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting, and he kind of he told us like, do not show up with a deck made for multiplayer. Like, do like just bring whatever. Like,
Right.
bring. And I was like, okay, like I'll build a multiplayer deck, but not like built like to be
Yeah.
competitively multiplayer. Just like, oh, you know what? I might try water. And then I got slammed at work and just showed up with my Earthfire Sorcerer.
How'd it
And I
do in
was
that game?
and it did. Yeah, I will say Flame Wave saved me.
Oh, how does that work with Flame Wave? Oh, I guess since it's still like I'm assuming rectangular mat, Flame Wave still
Yeah,
functions
so I
appropriately.
just chose one side of the realm and just flame waved it.
Gotcha.
And how the wording on the card is, because we were going one side wider than usual, like the grid on it is wrong technically, right?
Yeah.
But it says it goes horizontally from one side of the room to the like right, so it's gonna just do all of it is how we
Yeah.
ruled it. So
That makes sense. I feel
it
like
was
that's
pretty
right.
brutal because I went 7, 5, hit his avatar, hit my avatar for 3, I think it was, and then all of his stuff that was there were his big beefy ones on that 5. So I took out all of his 5 stuff and then just moved over and wiped everything, and then moved my dude to the King of the Hill, which did 3 damage to him.
Jesus.
And he's like, that is dumb.
Card's
But it
busted.
was it was it was good. It was a good time.
You
Yeah.
always gotta
So
love those big splashy plays. I feel like
yeah,
a lot of
I
us TCG players are really hankering for those whenever we play these games.
well, and I the thing that I like about sorcery more than anything else is like the how they build it. Actually, let's just switch over since we're just kind of talking now.
Sure.
So we're like, I really like how sorcery is kind of the built-in ordinary, exceptional, elite, unique, and only having the ability to have those specific amounts in your deck. First of all, for me, coming from a very competitive game and how the pricing was on the secondary
Hmm.
market, I was like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to buy 3 Philosopher Stones. Like,
Exactly.
it made it so much easier for me to get into this game. It's like, oh, I only have to drop X amount of money on one Philosopher Stone versus having to like fork over like $600 or whatever it is
Yeah.
now. It's yeah,
I've
good.
told people the same thing. It's like, in Magic where you can have 4 mythics or 4 rares in any specific deck, and sometimes you can get some seriously aggressive builds with them. Like you can get powerful builds in sorcery, but you can only get one of those. And I feel like it was such a crucial design decision when they built this game. It worked out so well, I think, in their favor,
Yeah,
personally.
I think of elites and uniques specifically as your tempo shifters. So it's like if
Hmm.
you pull one, it changes the game dramatically. But
Oh,
the
for sure.
ordinary and exceptionals are just kind of like, this is your fodder, this is what you're going to be playing with most of the time, and then when you pull that elite or you pull that unique, your opponent inherently is going to be like, "Oh crap."
Right.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
how am I supposed to deal with this? Yeah, it's like, okay, like Hounds of Honduras. It's like,
Yeah. That's
okay,
scary.
I have to figure out how to deal with that now.
Yeah. Well, even like it surprises me just how playable this game is, even with the exceptionals and ordinaries. Like
Hmm.
most of my deck, most of the creatures are exceptionals and ordinaries, with the
Hmm.
exception of the hounds and the Highland Princess. It's like you
Yeah.
can build something incredibly powerful with
Hmm.
just basic commons, air quotes.
Right.
It's it's just it's so well done. Love
I
this game.
just and the so I don't know how much you know about Flesh and Blood, but like it was that you have these like pieces of equipment that start with you out, and so you have like this inherent value in these cards, right, that are out on the field to begin with.
Okay.
So it makes it so if you don't have the best of those pieces of equipment when you start playing the game, you're at a lower percentage of winning to start.
I feel like I've heard about this. And there
Yeah.
are there pieces like legendary equipment or whatever that are
Yep.
just very, very good. And if you don't
Yeah.
have them, you're just like not gonna win.
Right. It's like you're inherently your percentage of winning against someone if you don't have those pieces and they do, you're probably just going to lose because of those pieces.
Yeah, that's dumb.
And it
I
kind
think
of it feels bad, right? So
yeah.
when I went into this game, having played that game for like a year and a half, it was just a huge breath of fresh air where it was just like, you might have this Philosopher's Stone, but you don't start out on the field with the Philosopher's Stone. So
Right.
you have to pull it. And if you never pull it in the game, then okay. Like, it makes it so I have the potential of winning this game, and you have to pull it, which means it comes down to randomization of drawing
Yeah.
versus
And
just having it.
and also the inherent power level of those like what do they refer to them as? Like I just call them all the stones. But
Hmm.
those cores in that Philosopher's Stone, drawing them late game sucks. Like, yeah, you get some extra mana, you get some threshold, but if you're not drawing them within the first 5 turns, I don't think they're that great, especially in a
No.
competitive, like constructed environment. Like, I cut core out of my deck, and I feel like it functions.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, a Philosopher's Stone turn 1 or 2, it does work. I'm not
Hmm.
discounting that, but I think I'd just rather a trinket.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't feel. I think that's one thing that's been interesting, like that people have been like, because I think going back 3 or 4 months ago, it was like everyone's like putting in cores like automatically
Yeah,
in their decks and like all this stuff, and I've been seeing more recently where it's like I really don't want to draw this. So like I just don't want to put it in. And I
yeah,
see that most people are just like, I'll put in a fillstone and maybe one core just to work with that threshold because I'm doing less of this, right? So it's
yeah,
like I have less fire sites. Then I'll put in the ruby core just to help with that threshold. But again, it's one of those things where I've found that Philosopher's Stone can feel okay later game,
mhm.
less than a core because again it's like,
Yeah, for
oh,
sure.
now I can play two cards where I would like, oh, I'm at five right now. I have one Earth three and one Earth and one Fire three. Okay, now I can play both,
Right,
and I happen to have a trinket. Okay, I'll put a trinket on it now too.
for sure.
Like the trinket math for me became a lot easier when you had a Philosopher's Stone in your deck because I started playing with trinkets, and the minute I got a Philosopher's Stone out, I realized I was always having like maybe one or two extra mana
Yeah,
because again I was like, okay, these threes are now fours, and now I have my fifth site I'm not using or the fifth mana I'm not using. I'll just throw a trinket out.
yeah. I have had similar thought paths with my Pathfinder deck where I'm like, okay, if I had a Philosopher's Stone right now, I could get that second trinket out and I could smack for that extra bonus damage. Or like I could trade efficiently with this Phalanx or
Mm-hmm.
Warriors or whatever it is. But the amount of times it does come up, specifically in my build, I still opted to not use it. But yeah, like
Well,
it's
and I think
Philosopher's
with
Stone is just so good, and
right.
it is as long as you get that out early, and like you said, it's okay, or it can feel good late game, or it can feel okay
Mm-hmm.
late game, but just those. I feel like the cores and the stones are obvious. Specifically with the cores, I think they're best in like the mono element. Like if you're running a geomancer and you want big beefies, like run your mixes, run your cores to get like your mountain giants and your heavy hitters out there for sure. So that's where I think the cores most comfortable slotting into.
Yeah,
And
I
then the
think
philosopher's stones or anything I think 2 color and over can use it, but just
yeah.
weigh the math in your own deck build for
Yeah,
sure.
I've been so Rudosaurus or Dave.
Yeah.
He plays he plays that pool party deck,
Oh yeah.
and he's running three elements: air, water, not air, earth, water, fire. And when I've been playing his deck like once in a while, and pulling Philosopher's Stone late game and with his not late game but like mid to late game with his deck does not feel bad whatsoever because
Yeah, I
it's
can
three
imagine.
elements. You're getting like the three pings off of it. So
Yeah.
I did
Mana savings alone is really good.
I did a combo where I went common sense into a violent and then played and then played like another two drop after that. I was like, so I just used six to play three. Like it
Yeah,
felt really good, and so I think the more elements you play, the more Philosopher's Stone feels good. The
for
less
sure.
you
Yeah.
play, the worse it feels.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like, oh, this is basically a core because it's just getting me one less if you're doing mono. But the
Right.
minute you get two, it's like, oh, okay, now this is a little. It feels a little bit better, but
Yeah.
the
It's just I feel like it'll never truly feel bad to play a fill stone. It's
mhm,
just like, is it the most efficient? It's like
right.
going down per element at that point. Because I
Yeah.
mean, you could do it in mono if you want, and
Hmm.
casting a common sense for two still feels good.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the full like I think in your deck you're correct when it comes to like because you're Pathfinder and you're just trying to get out as many sets as possible.
mhm.
You're not worried about mana really. You're just you kind of you get to eight or you're like okay cool like or six like
Yeah.
okay yeah no like I have everything I need. I can play everything that comes off the top of my deck pretty
Yeah.
easily. Where for me who plays sorcerer, it's I get to five, and unless I see like a flame wave or something else that's one of my like two or three six drops in my deck, I don't go get that site or I don't
Yeah.
go get that thing, right? So it's one of those things where if I see the flame wave and you're on death's door, and you see me pull a sight, you're like, okay, game's over because he's
Game's
about to
over.
pull the sight.
Got that killing hand right there.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where I found that your the interesting math of this game as it starts to evolve and people start to realize like, okay, what should I be doing when, like, I obviously like with Pathfinder, all this math goes out the door. It's a completely different game.
That's why I love
But
it.
yeah, but I enjoy like this is like a philosophy I've been like messing around with Sorcerer. I don't know if it works for other decks because I just don't play them as much. But when I play Sorcerer, I actually opt to go second most of the time against my opponent if I get that
Hmm.
choice. Because then I'm on the draw. And I would
Yeah.
rather be on the draw because then I can get my sight
Okay.
that I need. So it's okay. Because I'm inherently at 3 cards, which is technically the starting max size, right? So you're at a
Okay.
full card hand with your 3 spells. So for me, I'm like, I don't really need another spell right now because I probably won't be able to play this spell right now because I only have one. I'll be playing 1 mana and I won't be able to do it. Now that the math changes again if I have like a Fillstone or something else in.
Right.
But if 9 times out of 10 I'm okay, I'll go second. I'll draw that sight. Okay, now I'm at 4 sights. I need to draw 1 more sight. So on my next turn, I draw a sight. I have all the sights I need, and I've been playing them. So I get to the 5, and then I'm immediately doing the 2 draw unless I need to do something else.
Yeah, I can dig that. I
Yeah.
have noticed when I played the at least in the constructed and sealed when I had sorcerer, it did feel a lot better like having that site ready to go because I've done something similar with like I mean I've still taken my turn two like or sorry turn two draw spell and
Mm-hmm.
then I've drawn like my site sometimes early depending on what's in my hand already and it does seem to work out. So I think you're onto something.
Yeah. Kind of to wrap this up, we're gonna do some quick fire questions, and then we'll
Sure.
kind of let you go. The the one I like to ask more than anything else is, how did you learn about sorcery? Who did someone tell you, or did you hear about it from the Kickstarter? Did Team Covenant tell you? Like,
That'd
who
be
was the one?
Chris, the
Chris.
the sealed event winner. He's been in like my local Magic group for a while. We've been playing the TCGs for a hot minute, and he told us all about sorcery ages ago to the point where I should have got in on the Kickstarter. Hindsight 2020, kicking myself there, but it's
Yeah.
he got in on Kickstarter, told me about it, and then when I eventually did jump in on beta, I ended up buying most of my alpha stuff from him. So like he had
Nice.
a pretty decent alpha set built, so I purchased that, purchased like the alpha precons from him, and
Nice.
it was just game over after that. I saw the artwork on it, like saw the cards in person, the foils, which are
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Everything about this game, I think. Like the only thing I don't like about it right now is the fact that there's not enough of it going around. So like I need more cards.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. After that, it was just uh, constantly purchasing boxes off of Team Covenant as much as I
Mm-hmm.
could. I think I'm up to like 46 plus boxes opened. Like
Nice.
anywhere from 20 to 30 of them are recorded and are going to go up on YouTube at some point in time. But
Oh, cool.
we'll get there later. Yeah, it's such a good game, and I'm so grateful that he actually got me into it. And having a
Yeah.
play group at our local shop, there's about anywhere from 4 to 8 of us every
Nice.
week. 4 consistently, sometimes 6, and then 8 if everybody really joins in. But
Nice.
it's so nice to have a play group and playing a game where it's just chill. Like you
Yeah.
can play competitively, and even in the competitive environment, you can be super chill.
Mm-hmm. What kind of was it? The art that hooked you on sorcery,
Yeah,
or
that was a huge factor. Yeah,
okay,
the artwork being the full art kind of approach. I was always like a collector of promos and foils and stuff in
gotcha.
Magic as well. So I love what the card looks like on the board. As very
Gotcha.
much aesthetic and kind of a foil goblin at that point in time. So still foil goblin, but just for a
Fair.
different game. But
Yeah.
having that full art showcase on every card is
Is
it's
really
such a
cool.
good decision by them.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for years that Magic should just do full art everything. Like yeah, it's not going to be special anymore, but everybody wants full art. Just do it.
Yeah. The let's see here. If you can, what what is your favorite artist or like top 3 artists?
Ooh, okay. This just recently changed because he was actually a Midland Mayhem, and Jeff Menges is, first off, he does beautiful work, and on top of that, he's such a chill dude. Like when an artist makes something beautiful, and on top of that has such a good like rapport with his customers
Mm-hmm.
and his fans, he's got like the whole package. So like he is
Nice.
hands down my top favorite sorcery artist right now. And
Nice.
I like who is it? Savine Pinot. I'm gonna butcher the name
Yeah.
of some of these. Of course, Melissa Benson for her work with the cores and stuff like that. But um, I think those are the two that I can name off
Nice.
the top of my head, though.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely Jeff is hands down. I think I purchased one of his like prototype pieces for the Watchtower artwork that he made a while ago in one of his sketches. It's gorgeous.
That's awesome. Let's see here. What are your top three art cards or cards for the reason of the art?
Um, Aquamarine Core definitely is one of those that spoke to me. Sleep is another one
Yeah, I
that
love
I
sleep.
love. And then just the alpha avatars are so gorgeous. I'm very annoyed that they're not like more readily available because I want foils
Yeah,
of them and they're so expensive.
yeah.
But
I don't actually own them, so I hope that they do. I hope they because I do want to play with them like mechanics wise, but I am not willing to drop like $200 on each one. So
yeah,
the hope for me is that they eventually do some kind of reprint for them,
hmm,
hopefully with like a different art. So then the guys that want to collect the alpha can just collect the alpha, but then like there is a playable version for the guys like me that didn't get into it because we
for
could,
sure.
right? So then it's just okay, yeah, here's the version you get to play with.
I actually think I have an extra avatar of water. I purchased it from eBay a while ago and it arrived like bent. And
Oh
so like
dang.
that obviously was unfortunate, but like if
Ooh.
you want it, I'll send it to you. I don't need it and it didn't cost me anything. So at least you can play with it if you want.
I'm not gonna say no. If
Like
you
yeah,
want
well,
something from it,
well,
let me know.
no, don't worry about it, man. It was free for me.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'll have to try it. My wife is a huge fan of water, so she might enjoy just trying out another like water avatar. So
Like yeah,
yeah, thank you.
no, you're very
We'll have to
welcome.
talk about that afterwards.
For sure.
uh, what's your favorite element currently? It could be because of the art, it could be because of mechanics, or the things that it seems to be
Mm,
doing in itself, or whatever.
air. It's got
Air.
to be air. Yeah, the just on the move is what I live
Yeah.
for. So
Mm-hmm.
the movement and also card draw in this game being so premium, I just feel like air is so powerful. There's one point where I considered like cutting fire out of my Pathfinder deck in favor of like water and maybe some more controlly tactics, but air would definitely stay. I feel
Nice.
like taking sacrificing earth for air in the builds that I experimented with was so pivotal, and kind of taking it to the next level.
Nice. The So we saw that Arthurian Legends card recently. I'm assuming you saw it.
The
The
tri
Yeah.
site,
Uh huh.
ooh, so good. The first thing I was like,
So
oh, God, I need a foil of that so bad.
the with kind of in that same vein, is there anything that you're kind of hoping for in Arthurian Legends that's kind of I know you're a Pathfinder player, so obviously sites,
Yeah, definitely more sites.
but is there any like card mechanics you're hoping to come into the game or like minions or it could be anything.
I'm excited to see what other charge minions come out. Because
Yeah.
I honestly feel like I could sacrifice those Colicky Dragonets for in favor of just like another really good charge minion.
Well, you got
Anything
some
that
guys on horses. They have to have charge, right?
exactly,
Get
yeah,
some
yeah,
knights.
or something that gives a minion charge. Oh my
Ooh.
god, imagine an aura like it'd
Well,
be
we have evil
so good.
presence. We have evil
I
presence that
know.
do
So
it.
like it's mechanically it's in there, just like we got to find some more support for it.
Yeah, I was.
It's a delicate balance. I know designing a card game, and I feel like there's a point where you really have to be careful giving things charge.
Yeah, I was. I was telling someone. I was like, if you. I was like, Crusade and Jihad are really good, but if they had to give something charge as well, it would be completely busted.
Yeah. Like, what element would that be? I would think it'd be in air of some sort. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah,
think we
I
were
could see it.
brainstorming some sort of like, I don't know if it was a minion or something, almost like the House Armed Bannerman or something that
Hmm.
gives nearby minions charge or whatnot. But like putting it on a body feels like it where it might need to be
Maybe
on a
like
mortal, on an air
it'd be
mortal or
interesting
something.
if like it was like a unique card, and this would kind of be crazy. I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't. Maybe it wouldn't be super crazy unless you could like just bring out a ton of stuff that turn. So maybe like a
Yeah.
border militia combo here, but
Okay.
like something that's like a warhorn cry or like something
That's
like
exactly
that,
what we were
and
thinking. Yeah.
then you just like all all minions this turn have charge. So it's just like a mass thing that like
As
you
a
just for the
unique, I could see
turn,
that being viable. Yeah.
just like for the
If it was
turn,
a,
you slap
yeah.
down like two or three border militias, then you play this, and just everything immediately charges forward.
Oh man,
It'd be pretty nuts.
the gears are turning on that one.
Yeah.
We like to have in our little group discussions about like theoretical card design and how we build. I think one of our play group, Shay, actually does. She posted. I think it was on the sorceries like make your own card post on
Yeah,
Facebook or
I
whatever.
did one too.
Yeah, she posted the one about deja vu. So if you see that thread on deja vu, we like brainstormed that for a solid like hour and a half on the way back from Belleville, Illinois, from Midland Mayhem,
Nice.
and I think we got a pretty decent card design. So
Cool.
yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Let me tell you. Yeah, I got mine done like right before the deadline.
Hmm.
I did it. It was a unique. So like the flavor text or whatever, the part that tells you what rarity is. It says it's a unique cry of courage. Cost 5 is called War Cry. 2 Earth Threshold. Give all allied mortals this turn +2.
Ooh, ooh, I dig that. For five, I think that's appropriately costed.
Yeah.
I
Well, you
might
get
bump it up to
everyone.
six.
You get everyone at.
Yeah. With everyone plus two, I might kick it up to six.
Yeah,
It
maybe
seems
6. You're
really
right.
good at five.
Yeah.
Imagine playing that
Well,
in
I
an
wanted
aggro
it to be
sorcerer
really
build.
good, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Is that what threshold did you put on that one?
Two
Two.
Earth.
Okay.
I thought about doing 2 Earth and 1 Fire or something because I thought that would be
Ooh.
kind of an interesting. I think that might be something we see in the future is dual threshold, like different cards that are like, if you're playing Earth Fire, you can play this kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I think there's definitely design space for it.
Yeah, why
I'm,
not?
I'm very curious how the card
Mm-hmm.
like the text boxes and name boxes for everything. Because if you noticed on that tri site that they spoiled, it's got all three colors in
Yeah,
that name box. It looks so sweet. So
yeah.
I'm curious how they're going to blend that into their border design.
We'll do one more and then we'll
Sure.
let you go. What is your favorite magic, minion, artifact, and site? It could be art, it could be mechanic, it could be whatever.
Okay. So magic. I mean, I think we're just going to go for flanking maneuver. That's
There
that's
we go.
just a lot of fun. Artifact, obviously, Taurus Hammer Trinket.
Nice.
It's the way to go.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a staple. I think that more
Oh,
people are gonna realize how good it is,
I
especially
mean,
when you realize your threes go to fours, and that's like the curve of the game right now. Is like,
yeah.
okay, my boss troll is
Um,
gonna kill your boss troll. My boss troll is gonna stay alive.
exactly. Yeah, I slept on it for so long, and I'm just really kicking myself that I didn't discover it sooner because I could have put a lot of reps in to really work this out. But
Hmm.
it's yeah, bumping it up to three was definitely the right plan. Even Bruce and I, Golden Eagle, we were talking on the way back, and I'm like, buddy, I think you run Trinket in that Avatar of Earth deck. That seems very good.
Yeah.
And I think we were cutting Angel's Eggs out for it because when you see an Angel's Egg come down, it's like, all right, that's a
Yeah, I was trying
disenchant
to.
on the spot
Yeah, I was trying to
artifact.
tell him. I was like, I don't know about Angel's Egg, and he's like, ah, yeah. He's like, I'm thinking about bumping it up to 3 Divine Healing and get rid of the Angel's Eggs, and then like maybe add something else. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I think we slotted in trinkets for that. I'm very excited to see how that plays with him.
Well, you can also just slap it on your avatar, right? It's
Yeah,
not like it's a bad thing there either.
yeah, because the ceiling for Avatar of Earth power wise is what 10 right now.
Yeah,
Because
it's
if
crazy.
you're surrounded by the 3x3 entirely, that's 10. Imagine
Hmm.
just even two trinkets, you're at 12 now. It just takes takes your chip damage of anywhere from 3 to 4 per turn that you want to get to, and just makes it so much more achievable with less sites.
Well, if you
I
have
feel like
4 and
it's
then you are able to put down a trinket, and now you're doing 5. It's like 4 turns, bud.
4-turn clock.
Figure it out.
Yeah, 100%. Minion wise, it's got to be one in here. I have enjoyed the interactions between kobold and harpies so much. It just like it turns off a root spider strategy. So I have to. I think I'm going to give it to the harpies right now, just for what it's able to do.
Nice.
I mean, aura. I think I'm definitely going to have to go with Jihad.
Nice.
I think that's all of them, right?
Yep, that's all of them.
Yep.
Oh, sight. I don't think you chose sight.
Oh, sight. I don't want to say River Flame because that's just. I mean, the artwork on it is really freaking cool, though. You know what? I think it's just going to be a Gothic tower. Like,
yeah, there you go.
I'm just going to keep it basic because every time I see a tower hit, like this, I guess because this could be a blanket statement for all the towers in general. Like every time I see ones hit the board and I get that extra bump in mana, sometimes it doesn't do anything, but a lot of times it does. So seeing a tower, I feel like is just always a really good feeling.
Yeah, that's one of those things where like I wish that air had just a little bit more of something, so that I could like make like because the second idea I had was like an earth air, and I know earth air is good. I just think that it needs just a little bit more removal from one of them, right? Because you don't have like the direct stuff that fire does, and you need just something, just a little bit more something from air, and I think you could do it and it'd be like super viable.
Yeah, sacrificing the projectiles that fire yields it feels a bit
It's
rough.
really rough, yeah.
And the direct removal of like berries and whatnot and cave-ins and earthquakes that I lost when I cut earth is like, this is going to be rough. If I see some fatties, if I see that good old Pudgy on the other side of the board, I'm in danger.
What is it now, Crack Daddy?
I guess. Yeah. I was lucky enough to get all my promos in the other day. I still have to do a little unwrapping of those on camera. I'll do here soon. But
so do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. It's very, very small right now. I just started it 4 days ago. So
I'm not super huge either, but
yeah, I think it's called ADDIY currently right now.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to stay that forever because I might lean into like sorcery content as a primary one, and also thought about doing a podcast kind of situation and changing up the name. But right now it's ADDIY, and you'll see a picture of me and my dog. Okay. You got to scroll a little bit to get.
Oh wait, I think I saw. Did you do an alpha unboxing or something?
Yeah, I did the alpha pack opening. So all the ones that.
Yeah. I saw Chase posted something, right? Yeah.
Yep. That's me.
Nice. Okay,
got some pretty decent hits out of those ones. I was very fortunate. Those are the packs that I acquired from the 2 other champions, actually. So
nice. Yeah. Where the heck is that? Let's see here. Sorcery content. Cool. Yeah, I got it.
Thanks, man.
Right here.
It worked out that I'm not sure if it was for the betterment of the video or not, but both the foil alpha cards, or both foil unique alpha cards that I pulled, were literally the last pack in both videos. So I might need to put a disclaimer in the front, like, hey, there's a cracked pack at the end. Like, I don't want to be that YouTuber though that's like, stay till the end, like, comment, subscribe. But I guess it's kind of what you have to do. All
right. I'm subscribed.
Thanks, man.
You got another dude. You're at 12. That's pretty good.
Heck yeah.
Keep it going. Awesome, dude. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on and doing this.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Good luck on the Courtesan Cup. I'll be rooting for all these guys. I don't know who to root for. I've been like interviewing all these guys that are going to it. I'm like, I don't know who to root for anymore.
Yeah, it's with everybody being so chill, it's like
yeah, when I get to, it'll be interesting to see who makes the. I'm hoping that I get to. I'm hoping to somehow be able to reach out to everyone that makes the top 8 and do like a top 8 series for the Courtesan Cup.
That'd be sweet.
Of like each interview, which it would be pretty cool. But I kind of talked to Rudosaurus about it already. I was like, hey, if you're going, can you let them know about me after it's all said and done and see what.
We got you, man.
Thanks, man. It means a lot. Yeah, it would be really cool just because like then like the whole purpose of this channel, and I hope I get this across for most for people, is just like you guys did an amazing thing by winning, right? So it's just like I want it to be kind of not that it's just like, hey, they won, here's your trophy, see ya. But there's a little bit more of like, I think there's a lot of people that are more competitively minded
Hmm.
that want to know, okay, why did they do what they did? And like you can put up a primer, cool, but like I
Yeah,
think that this is more of a, all right, I can put this in on the background while I'm at work or whatever, and just listen and kind of understand what these top players are doing.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think this is a
just
good way of doing
sparks more conversation about the builds too. Shoot, it'll help me. Like if someone listens to this and be like, "Hey, you were discussing this. I think you should also consider this." Like you were helping me with like considerations for Pathfinder earlier. I'm like, well, that gives me, something to think
Yeah,
about.
I
So
told one guy who I think I was telling one guy that was doing an air water sorcerer deck. I was like, think Crater, not Crater Ice. I think Geyser is a slept on card.
oh, guys are so good. Yeah, yeah. If
Yeah,
you're running water, you should definitely be playing a geyser.
because it's like a three combo card, right? You're getting airborne on all those
Yeah.
dudes. You can then destroy a root spider because it's underneath of it, so it
Hmm.
becomes a water site, so you can't get there. And you also get to draw a card off of it
Yeah.
for two mana with one water threshold. Seems like a really good card.
So repositioner that can also end a game. So
Yeah, and it's
that's
also something that your opponent's not going to see coming, right?
yeah.
Because oh, this thing doesn't have airborne. Okay, I'm fine here. Oh shoot, it now has airborne. There's not a lot of things that give things airborne in this game, so
No, not quite.
it's really cool. But thanks again for coming on.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for having me. Take care.